Well, I don't know. Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. I know. I want this curl to do something other than what it's doing, but it doesn't want to. Good morning. Welcome to the Fearless Morning Show, where we are having confessions and conversations about your everyday life and finances. My name is Yamiche Jojo Waddell, the only live past crazy specialist. So what better place to be? No, I'm trying to make my forehead less shiny, and it's not working. So, I hope everybody having a great morning. Rosie is dressed for time period day today. You want to say good morning?
It's not the day name. It's
Decade day.
Decades.
Time period day.
You're so old.
I'm not old.
The way you said that. So, the dilemma with this outfit was
Great morning, Miss Margaret.
Great morning. That's Miss Valerie.
Miss Valerie.
Don't even know your own friends.
I know my friends.
She wanted me to dress up like the Harlem Renaissance.
My favorite.
And
we had the best outfit picked out ever.
I was not too comfortable because I wanted to do a different time period. And she was like, no, it'll look cute. I'll find you shoes and everything. I woke up this morning and I was like, I can't. I don't feel comfortable. So I found an outfit that matched with what I wanted to do first. Here we are. I look very nice.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fearless Morning Show. We are having confessions and conversations about your everyday life. And this is the car edition. Next week, I will be at home. So, you guys, we won't be in the car. So maybe we won't have to worry that it's dark and rainy outside. So we'll have something different. So, hope you guys are ready to get this day started. I hope you caught the show on yesterday. If you didn't, please make sure you go back and watch it. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, please don't forget we do have a YouTube channel. If you simply type in Fearless Morning Show on YouTube, we will pop up, and we have over 390 shows over there. Good morning, Kimberly. Kimberly, did you get on the interstate? Kimberly is afraid of the interstate, and she was going to get on, at least she said she was going to get on 85 the other day.
Oh.
So, I hope you were driving and not riding, Kimberly. How about that? All right, guys. So, if you watched the show yesterday, we talked about why things don't change and why, what happens when you're always complaining. What is it? What happens when you're always complaining, and how your brain works, and how that's the chemical drug in your brain, that it creates chemicals in your brain, and your body becomes addicted to your complaining. So every time you complain, and I'm just new on this brain science thing, so all my biology people out there, I'm just saying. So when you complain, you get stressed out, your stomach hurts, your underarm sweat, your hair sweat, but it creates a chemical inside of your body. And the more you complain, the more that chemical you produce, and the more your body becomes addicted to that. So the minute you decide that you're not going to complain, or you're not going to do the things you used to do, your body is looking for that drug that you've been giving it for so long. So if you've been complaining for 15 or 20 years, then it's going to be harder. If you were taking cocaine, it would be easier for you to come off a drug than it would be for you to stop complaining. So that's how addicted your body is to the chemical response of you complaining. Girl, if you don't get on that interstate, Kimberly, she said she started and then turned around.
I mean, at least she started.
At least she started. Rosie's your cheerleader for the day. So yesterday we talked about that, how complaining creates that chemical in your body that your body then becomes addicted to, and why change doesn't stick. Be peaceful. Love you. And why change doesn't stick is simply because, I know, you got to be committed, disciplined, and not interested. Because interested and committed are two different things. You got to be committed, you got to be disciplined, you got to be determined So every time that negative thought comes up, you're going to replace it with something else. And in the beginning, it will be hard as hell because your body is looking for that drug. Have you ever started a new habit or, a new job at work and you like, it's taking me forever to learn? Imagine that going on in your body. So if you've been complaining for 25 years about the same thing, or if you've been complaining for 5 or 6 years about the same thing, your body is used to you giving it that chemical. And now you want to give it. That's like Confessions and Conversations. I was a Pepsi-holic. I drove around with a 24 cube of Pepsi in my car. You didn't have to worry about buying me a soda. I had my own. And so when I stopped, the doctor was like, you drink too much soda. And I had to start drinking water. I had migraines. I had the shakes. I had the headache. It's because my body was used to that chemical. Same thing when you stop complaining. You probably going to be like, what the hell is wrong with me? Because your body is going to remind you, JoJo, you do wake up at 6 o'clock every day. And the first thing that you do is complain that you don't want to get up. And then you complain because you don't want to drive to work. Then you complain about the job. Then you complain about the kids, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your boo thing, your side thing, your friends. You complain about your coworkers. When you get home, you complain you ain't got no money. You ain't got nothing to eat. Then you complain because ain't nothing on TV. Then you call your mom and them and y'all complain some more. And then you go to sleep. And the last thought is, Lord, thank you. And then you usually sleep by that point. But what you thanking him for when you done complained about everything he's given you for the whole day? So your body is used to you giving it that chemical. So that's why it's hard to change. That's why it doesn't stick, because when we start to change and you start to go, your body starts to go through those withdrawal symptoms. Meaning like, JoJo, what is this? You don't say nice things to that lady. You usually roll your eyes and cuss her out. That's what we do. That's what we used to. You're fighting the old you with the new you. Please be consistent with putting something positive in its place immediately as soon as you have that negative thought. So let's talk about another side of that today. And I'm sharing all of this because I've been through every piece of this, every bit of it. I'm telling you what I know. I ain't telling you something. Lisa Nichols says, I'm not giving you clinical advice. I'm giving you life-saving advice because I done been here and I know crazy. So we're going to talk about the circle of influence and the circle of concern. And this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you've never read that book, please go read it. If you would like it, how about I give somebody that book today? I think I have an extra copy. So if you would like that book, the first person to send me their address in my message box, I will get it. How about the first 5 people? I'll buy 5 copies and give it away. But you got to be committed to read the book and do what it says do. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It talks about the circle of influence and the circle of concern. And so the circle of influence is things that we can't necessarily control. 80% of our life is spent in the circle of concern. So what is your circle of concern? Your coworker that got the raise above you. How your man thinks. How your mama and them think. Your circle of concern is when you watch the politics and you can't think. You don't understand why they running the country the way they running the country. Your circle of influence is the people in traffic. Your circle of influence is everybody other than you that you can't directly affect. So 80% of us spend our time in our circle of concern. And then that only leaves 20% of us who spend our time in our circle of influence. That means things that I can immediately impact or change. So if all of my time is spent worrying about something I cannot change, what is then happening to the circle of influence, which is the things that I can change? Nothing is happening there. It's died and dried up and old and crusted, and there's nothing there. And then we're angry, and this is where the anger and frustration comes in, because we're like, okay, I want to change this, but oh, look over there in my circle of concern, that girl get on my nerves, and this person aggravates me, and you're all in your circle of concern and not in your circle of influence. Here come Rosie and her friend. Yes.
I wanted to say good morning.
Good morning, Mel. How are you doing? I like your shirt. Are you feeling better today?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, thank y'all for coming to say good morning to me.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye. Love you. Be peaceful, Mel. That's Rosie's best friend. They come to say good morning. So 80% of our time is spent in our circle of influence and not our circle of concern. So if I am spending all of my time worried about things I can't control. And let me tell you the process I went through, because I had to go through this, because when the lights was getting cut off, the water was getting cut off, I didn't have no food, I didn't have no gas to get to work. I was having to call out to work because I didn't have no gas, and I couldn't take the kids to school because I had no gas. But I had to work because, I was only making $12.26 an hour. So I had to, you can't stop, because if you stop, everything fall. But if you don't stop, everything gonna fall. Right there, we're crazy. It's crazy times 10,000. That was where I was. And then I started to have the mindset of I can't worry about every external thing. There are going to be some things that are going to happen that are outside of my concern. That are outside of my circle of influence. I cannot control everything. As a single mother, I did my darndest to control everything, every aspect of what I could to make it easier for everybody. And then the harder I try to control, the harder it got. Anybody understand what I'm talking about? I'm just saying. The harder I try to control my kids' schedule, them getting to the best schools, the harder it got. And I realized I was 80%, I was darn near 100% in my circle of concern, meaning I was worried about outside things that I had no influence over, meaning I could not immediately affect any of that. So instead of me complaining about my coworker getting a raise, because I was making $12.26 an hour at IBM, instead of me getting mad about that, I had to change where I work. That meant I had to leave the people I had really come to love at IBM. I had come to love these people because we work closely together. But that was no longer my circle of concern. I needed to work on my circle of influence. So I focused on what I could immediately impact. My income, I could immediately impact. That meant I called around and I said, I need a job. And I need to make more than this. And then here's just a little side note. If you are making $12.26 an hour, please don't go and tell the people you making $12.26 an hour. You want to at least make more than that. Please jump that up at least if you're hourly $5 to $6 more. So you at least land halfway where you want to be. If you're salary, let's bump it up 10,000 so you can at least land where you want to be. Because when I left the hospital, again, my circle of influence, because my circle of concern was everybody getting raises and I didn't get a bonus, and me complaining about my job. I had to do what I could to influence my circle of influence. So I called a recruiter and said, I need a better job. I want to make, and I was not living true to who I was, boo. I was not saying what I could do. Sometimes you got to shine your little light and toot your own little horn. So I wasn't doing that. And so when I went to the interview and I said, well, I want to make this, the lady looked at me and slid me a piece of paper with a number on it I darn near choked on, because that's what I was thinking. And she said, baby, you need to be confident in asking for more, because that's what this paid. But if you are convinced that you don't deserve that, then that's what I'm going to give you. Do you know how fast I changed my mind and my mouth to fix, I'll take that figure right there? What is inside your circle of influence? What can you change right now? So one of the things that I did to get out of my circle of concern, so 80% of the time, we're in that circle of concern of things that we can't ever change. We ain't ever going to change that man. We been known we wasn't going to change, and we've been known that, but we settle, okay? We know that we ain't ever going to like them coworkers. We know I was going to say something. And so instead of me focusing in that circle, focus on my circle of influence. So the first thing I did, because I was a news watcher, I stopped watching the news. I had to cut my news. If I was going to watch it in the morning, I wasn't going to watch it in the evening. Because in the morning, it sets your tone for the day. So if you don't like the president and you watching him first thing in the morning, don't you get aggravated? Then you go to work and you talk about it, and then you be like, I don't understand. And this is my new thing. I don't ever want to understand anybody else's thought process that is insane. I don't want to, so I don't try. No. So take one thing out of that you're going to stop that's in your circle of influence. So if you gossip, maybe cut that, instead of gossiping the whole 8 hours, maybe cut it down to 5, baby steps. That's all we looking for. If you're a news watcher, cut it down to 1 news a day, maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. Take something that's in your circle of influence and let it go, and take that time you would have had in your circle of influence, in your circle of concern, and put it in your circle of influence. Meaning, let's focus on what can I change right now to give me a different result than what I'm currently getting. You got to be dedicated to this process right here. Let me tell you something. So here, your past gives you the information you need to make a better future. So, and I wrote this down because I want y'all to get these steps. So, first off, if my past is going to give me information on where I need to be in the future, number one, I need to figure out where the difficulty lies. Like, what is my core problem with this here problem? What is for real going on? And once I figured that out, okay, so if this is my past, and we're going to use me for an example. Okay, JoJo, if this is the kind of man that you're attracting, what is the problem? Because you're the only common denominator. If none of these men have never met, but they've all been married to you, you're the common denominator. So we have to have that honest conversation with ourselves. So JoJo, if you're the common denominator, what was the difficulty with you? Once I figured that out, right? That's number one. Number two is you got to figure out what was said, what wasn't said, what action was taken, what action wasn't taken to get you to where you are now. Was it something somebody did say or didn't say? Am I always popping off at the mouth? Do I always have something smart to say? Do I always have to be right? Hello, somebody. I'm still working on that part. And I've gotten 99% better. But there are days when if I know what I know, then I'm going to be right. But there are some days where it just irritates me that somebody doesn't have the capacity to exercise their common sense and they just wrong. We all have them days. So I used to think it was my responsibility to automatically correct them people when it wasn't. That was outside of my circle of influence. It was in my circle of concern. And so since it was taking up space, and for real, when you stop worrying about your circle of concern, you realize how much time you got to spend on yourself. You realize how much time you got to change some little things that you want to do for you. But because you're so caught up in your circle of concern, meaning you can't change that even if you wanted to. All your time spent over there and no time spent on you. But when you just replace one for the other, you'd be surprised just how smart you are, how good you look, how much you can achieve. When you change your mind and your conversation, you'll be surprised what will happen. And then the third thing, so I got to figure out where the difficulty lies. What was my core problem? What was said? What wasn't said? What action was or wasn't taken? And then the last thing is, how did it all go wrong? When I take all of that together, how did it all go wrong? And for me, because I've been a single parent, and because I think I'm going to write a little ebook or do a class about this as a single parent for years. It is difficult when you then get married because you think you want to get married. But when you've been the man, the woman, the decision maker, the everything for so long, and then you introduce somebody else into that circle, your attitude is on 10,000. At least mine was. Ask me why. Because now I'm having to listen to somebody else's input when before my input was the only one that mattered. I made all the decisions. I didn't have to consult nobody. I didn't have to ask no questions. I didn't have to ask anybody what they thought. And so that was my problem. That's where everything went south because I felt like, well, why I got to change? Because I've been running things. Why can't I continue to run things? Yeah, that don't work in marriage. I figured that out on husband number 2. Don't be like me. I learned something. Please learn from your friends. Don't do things the hard way. I'm just trying to help a sister and a brother out. I'm just telling you. So I got to think about what is my core problem. I always wanted to be right. I always was the leader, and I wanted to be that at all costs. Number 2, what actions did or did not happen, what was said, what wasn't said. I wanted to be known that I make all decisions, period. You ain't had to ask me nothing. And where did it all go south? Me projecting that and doing just that and be like, oh, I'm married. Oh, you wanted me to check with you to make that decision. Yeah, I'm not used to that. And then not being willing to give up some of that. Ooh, child. Talk about learning. Thank you, Jesus, honey. I know the angel that God assigned to me probably cussed a couple of times. I'm about certain that he did. So then I had to think about what was inside the things I could immediately impact. What was my circle of influence? How could I change me? Because my past was giving me information for my future. My past is not to keep me built in, so thinking that I can't have anything better. So 2 failed marriages didn't mean I couldn't have a good one or another one if I chose to. It simply meant I needed to take the time to look at the information that I had and impact my circle of influence, and which was all me. A lot of times on this journey, we got to check ourselves, and that includes checking our ego sometimes. And I had a big one. I ain't even ashamed. I had one. Yeah, I had one. So I had to check all of that. 80% of our time is spent in our circle of concern instead of our circle of influence. So today on this Take Action Tuesday, what things can you stop focusing on in your area of concern and put in your area of influence? What can you work on today that's going to change, that you can change today? Your attitude, you can immediately change today. It really is. So this is what happens. Immediately, as soon as what? Kim, my parents were married, but after the age of 13, they divorced. And so it was a whole different world for me. So it was hard for me. And then so from 13 on, I was in a single parent home. And then I became a single parent. And I'm just saying, we need to be aware of the things that we pass down to our children. I had to become aware of what I was passing down to my girls. And I talk to them quite often about attitudes and understanding and a whole lot of things. You got to be mindful of that. Thank you, Kim. I'm all in there with you. And as being raised as a single parent in a single parent home, especially if it's your mother, you're raised to handle your business, not depend on anybody to do what you need to do. You self-sufficient. But when you get in a relationship with somebody, marital counseling is not enough. I think when you go to get married, if I'm a single woman if I'm a single parent and I've never been married, I think I need counseling on my own on how to cohabitate with somebody else. Now, if you live with somebody, you probably got it okay. But as a single parent, I didn't live with nobody. It was me and the girls. And now I'm going to bring a whole man into the house that's going to disrupt the pattern that we have. That affects not only me, it affects your children. So they seeing me stressed out. They don't understand why. I'm trying to figure out the role he wants me to have because I ain't fitting in it. I ain't going into that role. You can bet your bottom dollar I'm not. So now I'm fighting the role that I just died to get. I said I wanted to be your wife, but yeah, I don't want to do nothing that's required to be your wife. I don't want to spend time with you. I like being by myself. I don't want to talk to you because I'm so used to silence and putting the kids to bed and having my quiet time and, my routine of things. And here you are disrupting my routine. It's hard. That's just a side note. I think that everybody needs to, let me pull forward, y'all. I think everybody needs to take some time to think about that before you get married. You might want to think about that. I'm just saying. That's just a side note. So today, Take Action Tuesday. The thought for the day. 80% of us spend our time in our circle of concern instead of our circle of influence. Your circle of concern are things that you cannot control. Now my family has no idea. They hate when I say they call me with a problem. Well, JoJo, that's not my concern. Those are my words. And I didn't know this until after I read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I didn't know it until later. I would say that's not my concern. I can't worry about that because there are only certain things I can impact on. I want to take all of my energy to focus on the things that I can change instead of worrying about the things that I cannot. I promise your stress will be less. Your mouth will be less. The tightness in your shoulders will be less. I'm just saying. So think about that today, guys. On this Take Action Tuesday, what is your circle of influence? Take one thing out of it today. Lessen your stress a little bit. And your past does not define your future. It simply gives you information that you can use for a better future. All right, guys, I hope this has helped somebody today. I hope you have an amazing Tuesday. Please don't forget to share the show. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, don't forget we have a YouTube channel where you can binge watch all the Fearless Morning shows over there, and they are by topic so that you can watch whatever you want. If you simply type in Fearless Morning Show, it's there. The Fearless Thought of the Day can be delivered to your email, and I will post that link for that so that you can sign up to get it delivered to your email. I will post that today so that you can share it with somebody. So if your friends and family don't do social media, if they have an email, they can get their Fearless Thought delivered there. Don't forget the I Am My Sister's Keeper t-shirts are up for sale on livepastcrazy.com. So if you want a I Am My Sister's Keeper t-shirt, go over to livepastcrazy.com and get them one because they are for pre-sale. And if you know anybody who needs to live past crazy, please send them over this way because I'm just trying to help a sister and a brother out so you don't have to learn the things that I learned the hard way. I don't want that for y'all. And I'm just saying. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing Tuesday. I will see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good one.